Hey everyone, today we're going to be checking out the 16-liter Tasra Pack from Cotopaxi. And this is a bag that I'd seen multiple times at REI and also while traveling around the world, and I was always curious about it, not only because it offered a very fun and distinct style, but also because it seemed to have a very functional layout that also came in at a pretty lightweight and reasonable price point. And so in this video, I'm going to be talking about what it's been like to test this over the past couple of weeks. I'll show you how I've loaded it out, walk through all the features, and I'll also talk about how it compares to some of the other similar bags that are currently on the market. Before jumping into the video, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Danny, and on this channel, we love reviewing popular travel and everyday carry gear. If you like these types of videos and you'd be interested in seeing more, please consider subscribing as it helps the channel out a lot. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump in. Starting off with the overall aesthetic, like other Cotopaxi bags, to me this has a pretty fun and unique style with the various color combinations that are available. As far as the silhouette and the layout, to me this has a little bit more of a functional vibe that will still work well in a lot of different situations, whether you're going into the outdoors, traveling, or just using it for walking around the city. As far as the materials, this feels pretty solidly built. This is part of Cotopaxi's Del Dia collection, which means that it's made out of recycled fabrics that weren't used while creating their other gear. And so the exterior here is a mixture of recycled nylons and polyester. So far, it's held up well. I like that it's not a super rigid fabric, which will allow it to mold around the gear that's on the inside. It also feels like it's gonna offer a decent amount of weather resistance, and it also helps keep the weight of the bag down. Beyond that, you have some really smooth working YKK zippers all throughout. Continuing along the outside of the bag, I was happy to see that you have two external water bottle pockets. These are gonna offer a nice amount of elasticity and space. I was able to store my 20-ounce water bottle comfortably, even when the main compartment is packed out. So great to have one of these on each side, and then when they're empty, the elasticity helps keep them closer to the bag. And at the top, you have a nice handle to pick the bag up. This is gonna offer durable material here, very simple, but again, it gets the job done. And then you have a few attachment points here along the front. And then on the front, you have the Cotopaxi logo, which is fairly prominent, but I've always been a fan of the logo itself. And then the last thing I'll call out while we're talking about the exterior is that the bag can stand up on its own, but this really depends on how it's loaded out and making sure that the weight is evenly distributed, because the bag doesn't have a ton of structure. As you start to shift things around, there is a good chance that it's gonna tip over. Moving into the capacity, the bag comes in at about 16 liters, which is a more compact daily bag size, but to me this felt like a pretty generous 16 liters due to the layout and the materials that have been used. And so I was able to hold all the items that I normally like to carry with me, and it didn't feel like the bag was overly stuffed or anything like that. And even when it's a little bit more packed out, it still doesn't feel super bulky, which made it great for navigating crowded areas, jumping onto public transit, and carrying onto pretty much any domestic or international airline, and being able to use it as a personal item. Continuing with the harness system, so far the bag has been pretty comfortable to wear. You have a nice amount of padding here on the straps. It feels pretty rigid, supportive. On the inside, you have kind of a soft material here, not necessarily a breathable mesh, but so far it's felt nice. You also have a good width on the straps to help prevent the bag from digging into your shoulders, and it matches up well with the size of the bag. And then you have a couple of loops here that you can use to clip on additional gear, hang some sunglasses, maybe use it for a light. And as far as the back panel, you do have some padding here that is distributed. This isn't gonna be a very breathable back panel, however, there's no sort of mesh or elevation here. And so, you know, although I didn't have any issues while wearing it as far as the comfort, I did notice that my back started to get pretty sweaty very quickly. One last note here is that I was a little sad to see that there's no luggage pass-through to rest this on a suitcase, which feels like it would have been a good fit for the type of bag that this is. Jumping into the organizational options, you have a couple of quick access pockets on the front. And in general, I'm a big fan of this style where you have these quick access pockets that are a little more spacious. They give you volume so that you have some flexibility in what you can store. And so starting off with the larger one on the bottom, you have a good zipper here that provides easy access to this spacious compartment. And then with the volume and the height that's provided here, I was able to store the Evergood Civic Access Pouch 1 liter. This could also handle something like a packable jacket. I have an alpaca admin pouch in there. And then I also have my USB-C hub with charging cables for my laptop. All of those items fit in there, and it still felt like I had a little bit of leftover space, so really like this sort of layout. And then above that, you have another quick access pocket, again, with a good amount of volume so that you can store bulkier items if you need to. At the moment, I'm using this for my sunglasses with their case. I also have a headlamp in here, and on the back you have a zippered pocket that's going to be a good spot for smaller items. So here I have a retractable USB-C cable, my AirPods, another charging cable for my tablet, my phone, and you have a little lanyard with a clip for your keys. And then moving into the main compartment, this is a top-loading bag, but it does open up enough so that you have visibility into the compartment to be able to grab what you need. And so pretty good amount of space. Again, for 16-liter bag, I was impressed with what I was able to hold. And so at the top here, I have the Evergood Civic Access Pouch half-liter. I have my Beat Studio wireless headphones, an Air Tech kit, and then at the bottom I have the Evergood Civic Access Pouch 2 liters. So all those are, the types of things that I might have with me on my daily basis, and I didn't really feel like I had to sacrifice anything, even though this is a little bit of a smaller bag. And this comes up a decent amount, so if I wanted to use this as like a super minimal travel bag, I could toss in a packing cube in a toiletry bag and use this for a longer weekend trip. On the back of the compartment, you have some built-in organization. So you have a slip pocket here that's gonna be a good spot for something like a portable battery, and then a few slots for pens, stylus. Here I have a pair of scissors. Behind that, you have a tablet sleeve, and I like that this is a little bit padded, so it's gonna give you some protection. It's not just kind of a thin slip pocket. And currently I have my iPad mini in here, but you could store a larger tablet in there if you needed to. And on the back, you have a padded laptop sleeve. And you have this Velcro strap to secure it. And this offers a decent amount of padding. I like how kind of thick this is to help keep your laptop protected. And it is a little bit pulled up off the bottom of the ground, but because this bag doesn't have a ton of structure, it kind of collapses up. And so, when it's empty, if you were to drop it in, you might feel some contact with the ground, but generally this feels like a more protective laptop sleeve than I would expect for this type of bag, which is great to see. And I believe this is meant to hold up to a 14-inch laptop. Here I have my 14-inch MacBook Pro. You can see that there's a little bit of leftover space at the top, but I think that this might be too small for a 15 or 16-inch laptop, so you want to keep that in mind based on the device that you have. So pulling my laptop out. Now with the compartment empty, you can get a better look at the inside. This does come up a decent amount, so if you happen to have a thicker device, you should be able to squeeze it in there. And I do wish that this had been a dedicated compartment. I generally prefer that with my daily bags, just to make it a little easier to get it in and out of the bag, and that maybe it had been pulled up a little bit more. But in general, I was impressed with the padding that's provided here. It does feel like my device is going to be pretty safe while I'm on the go. And the last thing I'll mention, now that the bag is completely empty, is that I love how flat this packs down. This may actually work quite well as a packable backpack, both for its weight, the materials, and then the fact that it wouldn't take up a ton of space in my backpack or my suitcase. It is a little bit larger and thicker than some of the truly packable bags, but I always prefer to have something that's a little bit more robust for walking around. And so I feel like with the straps and the padding that's offered here, it's a fair enough trade-off, and I think that it still manages to get flatter than most other daily bags. You can also use this as a packing cube, toss some stuff in there, and then put it inside of your bag. So just another benefit to this, really surprisingly useful bag. And so if you're looking for something that is going to be, very unique, that's going to offer a functional layout and is going to be a little more compact, then I think this is going to be a really cool option to take a look at. And so to wrap up, you can currently purchase this on Cotopaxi's site or REI's site for about $75, which to me feels like a pretty reasonable price considering the features and the build quality that it has to offer. Cotopaxi is known for making really solid products, and so it feels like you get a nice amount of value for the price, but there's gonna be some other great bags in this price range that may be worth considering. And so as I was testing this out, the first bag this made me think of is the Decathlon Quechua Escape Backpack. I really enjoyed using the 23-liter size of that bag. Really functional layout, lots of pockets for all of your essentials, spacious main compartment. I like that it had a dedicated laptop compartment with a padded sleeve, very comfortable harness system, luggage pass-through, dual external water bottle pockets. So really just offering a lot of features, and it also comes in at a very reasonable price, around $50. And so if you're looking for, a versatile, budget-friendly bag, that's gonna be one of the best ones that you can take a look at. The next bag this made me think of is the Osprey Daylight 26+6 expandable backpack. That continues to be one of the most versatile bags that I've used. At 26 liters, it can work as a daily bag or as a personal item. It can expand to 32 liters to work as a one bag travel option. It's got a more kind of functional, outdoorsy vibe, but not overwhelmingly so. You have dual external water bottle pockets, pretty comfortable harness system, luggage pass-through, and then you have the suitcase style opening that's very travel friendly, padded laptop sleeve, and so it just offers a ton of functionality. It comes in at around $100, so it's a little bit more expensive than this, but it does feel like you get a lot of additional value for that. And so if you're looking for a lightweight, versatile, minimal travel bag, that's gonna be an excellent option to consider. And then the last option that I'll mention here is the Fjallraven Raven backpack. That's offered in a 20 and 28 liter size. It's gonna offer a nice layout, giving you some quick access pockets, a main compartment with a padded laptop sleeve. If you get the 28 liter size, it's gonna have a dedicated laptop compartment. With the 20 liter, it's integrated into the main area, similar to the one that is on the Tasra Pack. And then you still have the dual external compartments for a water bottle, pretty comfortable harness system. The price point on that is also reasonable considering the features, the build quality. It's gonna be a little bit more than this one, but again, it does feel like you get some extra functionality for the investment. And so if you're looking for a versatile bag that's offered in a couple of different sizes and that's gonna give you that classic aesthetic, and that's gonna be an excellent option to take a look at. With that being said, the Tasra Pack holds up pretty well against all those options, and I was definitely surprised at how versatile and fun this bag has been to use. And so if you're looking for something that's gonna be lightweight, offer a functional layout and a unique style, and also come in at under $100, and this is gonna be a really cool option to take a look at. And I'm definitely curious to hear what you all think of the Tasra Pack and how it compares to some of the other compact EDC bags that are currently on the market. And if there's any similar options that you think that I should check out, as always, please let me know in the comments. And I want to thank you for watching and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like, and if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming videos, and we'll see you in the next one.